this is something that got blown up on Twitter. I had people like fans of other teams messaging me yesterday that this article. So while it was good to have Embiid back on the floor and to beat the West,
people were messaging you this.
Yeah, I have a few friends from working in Lansing who are big Pistons fans who like to stir up stuff. They sent me this article. So there's some drama coming from Philadelphia media, and I know everyone always has problems with Philadelphia media all the time. They like to stir up stuff, but Philadelphia beat writer Keith Pompey published an article that insinuates some strife between Embiid and Harden. The quote that raised a lot of people's eyebrows, complete speculation, was, quote, "He's mostly been out of sync and had poor body language while playing alongside Harden this season." And my biggest takeaway from this was,
who's the quote from?
The quote was Pompey writing in this based on what he's hearing around,
what he's seeing,
what he's hearing. My biggest argument with this quote and the thing that's getting blown up by other NBA Twitter accounts is that Embiid has looked off in general this season, not just playing alongside Harden. He's looked off in general. So my question to you guys, what do you guys think of this quote and just this kind of this article that's being blown up by a lot of people who just want to have problems with Embiid and Harden?
I can't say I've seen it. I've seen his body language of Maxey's taking quick shots. I've seen that. So I wouldn't, if it happened, I wouldn't make it a James Harden thing. I would say a style of play thing. And usually when I've kind of seen him do it is when we've taken quick shots. But in my career, playing and watching, a lot of big guys do that when they run the court and guys take quick shots.
Yeah.
That's like every big guy I've seen do that. Seen the best do it. I've seen Shaq do it. I've seen all kinds of guys do it. I've seen Dikembe. I experienced Dikembe doing it. So I don't put much weight into it. I don't put much weight into. It's no different than a guard complaining if a big don't get out and help on the pick and roll. Like, yeah, I don't. I mean, he's there and he probably sees things, and I think that he probably has someone that's telling him this. In my opinion, for him to go and write this, I don't think he writes and says this just by what he thinks he sees with his eyes. I think somebody's telling him or confirming this. I believe it's a source or somebody's telling him, confirming this story to him or in agreement with him. Because to me, there's really no reason for a guy to go out on his own and write this article in less than 10 games into the season.
Yeah.
If it's not something that was previously thought or somebody wanted to stir up something.
You want those clicks. Yeah,
it's just really not. It's not necessary 10 games into the season. It really is. And James not playing. Like, it's really not necessary.
It's a good word for it. Unnecessary. Yeah. No. He's done it a lot before. He's a big fan of drama. It's funny because
I don't know who he is. I don't know. I can't say that I've read any of these articles. Sure, I have. I read articles. I'm sure I have read his articles. So I don't know. I don't know him. Basically, I don't know him personally. So I don't. So I just think for whatever it is, he has his reason. Whether he believes it, whether he thinks he's seen it. In my opinion, he has some confirmation from somewhere in order to write it.
Wouldn't that be unnamed team source? They love putting that in there.
Yeah, but I don't think you want to say that right now because then you've taken.
Then you're really blowing it up.
That's what I'm saying. Then you're taking it away from this and putting it on the source. So now all people are talking about, oh, somebody in the Sixers is talking. Then that's the story.
Yeah.
But it's in my opinion that someone is you can have a conversation with someone and they be like, oh, I agree with that. But they didn't say anything. They just agreed with what he said. That's not a source telling them. He said it to the source and they just agreed.
Well,
I'm thinking he's getting some confirmation from somewhere to write that 8 or so games into the season. Because this right here, and James has missed games and Joel only played 4 or 5 games, you can't draw that conclusion.
They've hardly even played together this year.
That's what I'm saying. With everything that's
3
going
games
on,
together.
You can't draw that conclusion with the amount of games that they've played with each other and everything else has been going on. If you don't have some knowledge of something before, or someone's telling you something, because this is something that has to come from practice or scrimmaging or training camp. This just can't be 3 games.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, if this is the case, it's something bigger and it's coming from somewhere else. And it usually is all the time if somebody's writing this. Like, I'm thinking his editor is going to be like, you writing this about the Sixers already? This is just how you feel? Because you're risking saying that, well, you're risking losing those guys. Them dudes shutting you out like, I'm not talking to this guy.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get a quote. You get a quote when I'm talking to the general population of the media. If you're a beat writer, or is he a beat writer? I don't know.
He's an inquirer guy, isn't he, Teja?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. So you still got to talk to these guys for the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm. Well, I thought it was very interesting wording, too. It was very clever of him because the statement is not false. He's just tying them together in a sentence that makes it odd. Because I broke it down. Mostly out of sync and poor body language. Yeah, Embiid has had. Yes. He has had poor body language and he's been out of sync this year. That statement is true. And he also plays alongside James Harden. That is also true. But to make it because of, that's the part that it's like, well, that's the part I speculate.
So did he say because of James Harden?
While playing alongside Harden is how he worded it. That's what he means by it, but he's being very clever in the wording of it.
He's saying that so he can defend it either way.
110%. Yes.
Oh, I didn't say it because I was just saying, and he's playing alongside.
I'm just saying
people in the past have said that. Yeah.
He plays with Harden.
But I know what he wanted people, if you're just glancing at the article, or they can gather that and make that a headline to get clicks. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a clickbait.
You know how much I could throw? I started substituting out Harden for a million things, right? Embiid has been out of sync and had poor body language while with his wife and kid. But Embiid has had poor body language out of sync since playing with PJ Tucker. He's had poor body language and out of sync this year with Maxey. Because that first statement is true. Anything else that he's done this year.
Anything is different for this season.
It's true. It's all true.
You can use it for everything.
Yeah. You could say Embiid's had poor body language.
I think James is
on Philadelphia.
I think James is the easy target because he's James Harden, and James might have had a history of, especially in other cities, Brooklyn, of maybe you being able to say this is the case.
Yeah, it's easy target.
Yeah, I just think I think
you put George Niang in there, no one would click on it.
Yeah, I think that it hasn't been we haven't seen enough. If this is going to be the case with the Sixers, I don't think it's going to be a secret.
Yeah,
especially with Embiid. Embiid hasn't.
I know what I'm saying. I don't think it's going to be a secret. I think it's going to be. I think we'll be able to tell, and I think that going forward, it'll be hard for us to win.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, Embiid's been. If Embiid were perfectly healthy, there were no questions about foot, leg, anything sick, then I'd say there's a little more to it. But he has been injured and sick, and Embiid's been known to wear injury and sickness on his sleeve. He's pretty obvious about him dealing with something.
I'm not buying it, but we'll see.
And he always was kind of distracted by that stuff. So to automatically be like, Harden did it. It's like, oh man, come on, isn't that too
You
easy?
just never know. I mean, he could also have the writer could also have a beef against Joel.
Well, that's something that got brought up. So I was kind of going through like the Twitter comments because it's funny because now Sixer fans have a lot of Harden fans, like Harden, just like fanatics who are now Sixers fans because of
Harden stands.
Yeah. And they were like upset, like, oh, of course, Embiid's got another beef with another player, but Jimmy left him. Ben wanted out. It seems like Embiid's a problem. And then Embiid, Sixer fans, normal ones, were saying like, look, you guys are new to the Sixers. Pompey and Embiid have had kind of spats back and forth before, where like he'll ask him a question, and Embiid kind of like sarcastically responds back to him based on an article he's written in the past. So they have some kind of
that's what it is. Yeah, that I don't think that this is exactly what it is, but that has something to do with it.
Yeah.
So,
man, that's all we need right now, too. Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's even worse is that Harden's not playing right now, right? Good timing for this article. Harden's not playing, and he can't basically defend himself with his play on the court. Mm-hmm. So now we have to wait a month, being like, "Well, what, is it a problem? Is it really a problem? We haven't seen them play in a long time."
Yeah,
I don't think the players are worried about it.
Yeah,
no, hopefully not.
And watch us go like 18-4 without Harden, and then like, he comes back.
Guys gonna have issues. They're gonna have issues because it is an issue. They ain't gonna have issues because somebody said it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Embiid's the type to call that out too. If he has the next presser he has with Pompey, he's the type to call that out. So if he gets questioned more about this article,
I'm sure they'll ask him about it. Someone will.
Yeah. I was looking to see last night they asked him about it, but I couldn't find anything of him responding back to it or being asked that question. But
yeah, I mean, beat writers. It's interesting.
Beat writers will be right.
Let me ask you, Erica, because this is something that because we're obviously not from Philly, but like I've seen so many comments before from certain just fans online saying that nobody hates Philadelphia players more than the Philadelphia beat writers or the Philadelphia reporters, and nobody hates the Philadelphia reporters more than the Philadelphia fans. I mean, is that just kind of a known thing that like the reporters are just kind of gonna like stir up stuff in the Philadelphia, or is that more, in that city more so than others? They look for things to kind of blow up out of proportion.
I don't know. I had a good relationship with our beat writers, even though people didn't like them. Phil Jasner and Stephen A. were the main two.
Class personified, that's why.
I mean, they weren't always
kind.
They didn't say everything nice about me, but they were always nice and respectful in person. But they also let me, if I had something to say to them, I said it, because that was the relationship was established.
Mm-hmm.
But I never felt like they were picking on me.
They were out to get you. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I never felt that way, where it's like, well, you probably have some radio hosts. It's like once they get on the guy in Philly,
that's their thing.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's their thing. It's like no matter what you do, they're gonna, if you have a great game, then they're gonna talk about the game before that you didn't have a good one. You know what I'm saying? Like,
do that too.
That's like their thing, and I never felt like my beat writers in Philly were like that. Now, other guys may feel different. I'm only speaking for my experience with them.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think everybody had a situation where a beat writer, if he's doing his job, he's going to piss everybody on the team that's playing off.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to happen if he's doing his job because no one's perfect. No one likes anything. So it becomes down to, is he making his accusations or his conversation based on how you playing? Is it personal? Is it attacking your character? I was never put in that situation where it was anything other than basketball. And they had their opinions, and I didn't always agree with their opinions. But there was some positive there too.
You had AI soaking up all the non-basketball stories up. That's why.
Now, that, you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of times with AI, like on the non-basketball stories, it wasn't even really the beat writers. It was other people.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, people that don't even come in the locker room. That's for the most part. I think most guys have a problem with people that doesn't come in the locker room, won't show their face, don't come to practices, don't come to games, then have everything to say.
Was Stephen A. pretty active and present?
Stephen A. is exactly the way he is right now. Yeah, he has not changed a bit.
No, but like was he always there when he would go to practices? Okay.
Yep, always there. If he said something you didn't like, he would pull him to the side and be like, "Yo, dude, you know what's going on?" And he would hear you out. He'll say whatever he got to say. My relationship with him was the fact that he did not shy away. He did not write an article and say this and that and disappear. The fact that if he said something that you quote unquote didn't like, he showed up. For you to say whatever. So that's why I think he has a relationship with so many guys, because it's and at least in my time of playing, I don't know his relationship with these guys playing right now. I know in my time, that was the main reason why, because the one thing the guys didn't like was people to write articles and disappear or not be around. But he wasn't like that.
Yeah.
And then, then the AI thing happened and that brought him attention nationally, and he took it from there. But he's a talented guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He works hard.
Oh, yeah.
So he worth everything that he got.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
The one thing in my football show, because Jason used to play with the Eagles, and he talks about Howard Eskin being the one that he always heard, and that was the name that most players on the team just couldn't kind of stand.
Yes, but it was Howard wasn't the guy that really got on me as much. And I know it was another guy I think that was like I was his guy. I don't even know his name. But Howard, yeah, a lot of people didn't like Howard. I never had an issue with Howard, but Howard came around all the time. Came to all the games, showed his face. You can say whatever you want about him. So I seen Howard differently, but a lot of people didn't like Howard. And I'm talking about fans. Fans, I mean, they would bring him out on the court, like he would get booed. Like, but in my experience with him, I had no issue with him. But I seen it differently by a lot of other people.
Right.
But Howard was the most popular radio guy when I was playing. And he was AI and Howard, or even Coach Brown and Howard. They had some disagreements.
I even hear Maury in press conferences. He's got a different tone when he talks to Howard. Completely different tone.
Is Howard still around?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. He's still on the radio?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, he still has spots.
No.
Because he was pretty big during the whole Simmons stuff. Because I remember last year he was getting played on the radio a lot during that.
Okay. Yeah, he's funny.
Mm.
I may have to call him, see what he's trying to start up.
Let's see what he thinks about that Pompey report.
Huh?
See what he thinks about that Pompey report.
Let's see if I even have his number still.